Yes, thank you, Cardinal. Is the line still there?
Yes, yes.
Very well.
Thank you. Cardinal Pell, my name is Seckle, and I appear on behalf of the Foster family.
Very, very good, sir. Could you allow me, before you start, just to express again my sympathy for the sufferings of the Foster's girls and the family, and my regret that we don't seem to have been able to improve the situation a great deal.
Thank you, Cardinal. Cardinal, if I can take you to tab 19, please, in the bundle before you.
Just a second, I'm getting it.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Cardinal,
that is the leaflet.
yes, that's the brochure that accompanied the announcement of the Melbourne response in October of 1996, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yes, and if I can take you, please, to page 1 of that document, and you'll recognise it's either page 1 or 2. It's a bit uncertain in the tab, but the page at which your photograph appears in the top left-hand corner. If I can take you to that page, please.
Yes.
And in particular, if I can read to you paragraph that commences in that brochure as follows: "It is now time for me, on behalf of the Catholic Church, to apologise sincerely and unreservedly, first of all to the victims and then to the people of the Melbourne Archdiocese, for this betrayal of trust. In the words of the Catholic Bishops of Australia in a pastoral letter issued early in 1996, and you then quote, 'We cannot change what has happened in the past, undo the wrongs that have been done, or banish the memories and the hurt. In seeking to do what is possible, our major goals must be truth, humility, healing for the victims, assistance to other persons affected, an adequate response to those accused and to the offenders, and prevention of any such offences in the future.'" And that endorsement, I take it you have at all times subsequent attempted to adhere to?
That is correct.
If I can take you please to page, I beg your pardon, paragraph 118 of your statement.
Yes.
Yes. It reads as follows: "I am aware that in 2002 the Fosters commenced legal proceedings. To the best of my recollection, I learned of this action from Archbishop Hart or from someone in his office. I always accepted that the Foster family had every right to pursue legal action if they chose to do so. Participation in the Melbourne response and the making of an offer of compensation by the Archdiocese did not mean that a victim could not elect to pursue a civil claim." Now, if I can just ask you, you mention and you use the word right halfway through that paragraph. Foster family had every right. What do you understand by the term right, Cardinal Pell?
That there is no legal or church impediment.
And in fact, that right is a right that was and remains conferred of every citizen in the state of Victoria to bring proceedings at common law, is it not?
That is correct.
And Cardinal Pell, were you aware of the evidence that has been given to the Commission by Ms Christine Foster? Mrs Foster?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Have you? Did you view that evidence?
No. These your events are taking place in the early hours of the morning for us. So I've examined transcripts, but I haven't. I didn't sit up during the night watching.
Well, you would have been aware, having read the transcripts of Mrs Foster's evidence, that she gave evidence as to the time at which she and her family received 3 letters, including a letter of apology from you. Do you recall that evidence?
I do. I recall those events.
Yes, and in particular, she received, as she describes, in one envelope, 3 letters, the first of which was your apology. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And the second document that she received was a letter from your solicitors, that is, a letter from Cause Chambers Westgarth, dated the 31st of August 1998. Do you recall that part of her evidence?
I do.
And if I can take you, please, to tab 138 of the bundle of documents that you have before you, please.
Yes, I have 138.
Thank you. And is that the letter dated the 31st of August 1998?
It is.
Yes. And for the sake of completeness, and you'd be aware from having read the transcript of the evidence that the 3 letters that were contained in one envelope consisted of, firstly, the letter of apology from yourself.
Yes.
And where Mrs Foster gave evidence that, in fact, that was the very first document that appeared in the envelope, and she read that document.
Yes.
She then gave evidence that the very next document that she read in that envelope was this letter, bearing the date of the 31st of August 1998.
Yes.
And in particular, if I can take you, please, to the 3rd paragraph, and I'll read as follows. The compensation offer, together with the services that remain available through CareLink, are offered to Emma by the Archbishop in the hope that they will assist her recovery and provide a realistic alternative that will otherwise be strenuously defended.
Yes.
In terms of the goals that you set out in the brochure that I mentioned earlier, I suggest to you that the use of the words strenuously defended was anathema to such notion. What do you say in respect of that?
I would say a couple of things. I would say that it was inappropriate, and that's why it was discontinued in 2002. I would also say, by way of a partial mitigation, that I gather this is a term that is often used in legal letters and continues to be often used. I agree with yourself that it was inappropriate, and that in fact the 3 letters together in the one envelope, that should have been done better.
Yes, well, if I can just remind you of the words that you quoted with approval in your brochure: truth, humility and healing for the victims. Neither of which was achieved, I suggest, by use of those terms.
Yes, but there's many other terms. There's 2 and a bit pages, and so we shouldn't focus exclusively on this error, unfortunate though it is, and disregard all the other matters that were said.
Yes, well, when you say it was an error, was it something that you had intended should not be there?
No, I couldn't say that.
And I suggest to you that, in fact, it was a deliberate use. What do you say in respect of that?
Well, it's a legal letter, and I would presume that in a legal letter they wouldn't use unconsidered terminology.
Well, putting your layman's hat rather than your lawyer hat on for a moment, if you, Cardinal Pell, as a layman, received a letter expressed in those terms, that is, take the offer, otherwise the matter will be strenuously defended, what do you assume was the intent of such usage?
As a layman, I would have read the whole of the letter, and I would have read that, as it says, however, you and Emma should consider the offer as a genuine attempt by the Archbishop to provide an alternative to litigation.
Yes.
The compensation offer, together with the services that remain available through Careling, are offered to Emma by the Archbishop in the hope that they will assist her recovery and provide a realistic alternative to litigation.
What
to that, I have no problem with that, and I think, in fairness to the author, those words should be considered.
What does the addition and use of the adverb strenuously to defended add other than menace?
I wouldn't use the word menace. It's an unfortunate use of the word. It is explaining that the Church will not abandon the defences available of common law.
You might recall a few moments ago I took you to your statement, paragraph 18, and you agreed with the proposition that the Fosters, both Emma and more broadly her family, had a right to pursue legal action if they chose to do so. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And the use of the term strenuously defended, I suggest, is deliberately directed to the non-exercise of that very right. Is that not reasonable?
No, it's not at all reasonable. In a society, the Church has every right to defend itself, and what, from a Christian point, we might decide is inappropriate, probably is totally appropriate in a legal sense, and as I repeat, I gather this term continues to be used widely. I don't approve it, but I don't suggest for a moment that it was trying to prevent them going to law. It was pointing out that there are difficulties inherently present in such an approach.
And why do you not? Why do you not approve of the term, the words in that format?
Because from a Christian point of view, they are an overstatement. They can be misconstrued. It could be upsetting to the person, and they were, to those who received it. But the nature of litigation in our world is adversarial.
Thank you, Cardinal Pell. I have no further questions, Your Honour.
Does anyone else have any questions of the Cardinal?
No, Your Honour.
No, I have no questions, Your Honour.
That's Mr. Gray, no questions?
That's right.
Ms. Vaness, do you have any questions?
Nothing further, Your Honour.
Yes, well, thank you, Cardinal. Thank you for making yourself available. That brings this proceeding today to an end, and we'll now adjourn.
Thank you, Your Honour.